Hi everyone. I am here. Sorry, I'm eating. I just got off a meeting for work. So, but I will be turning on my video later, but Juliet, I'll be able to do the roll and everything.
All right, sounds good. We're going live on YouTube. Do you pronounce your name Valon?
It's Valen.
Valen. Okay, then. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Good afternoon, Dr. Hyman. Cute.
That would help. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving, I was saying.
Yes, hope you did as well.
Yeah, just getting back from Dallas. My cousin got married. He's a judge. He got married, so I'm tired. But then I had meetings early today, so.
Oh, wow.
Good
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good evening. How are y'all doing?
Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and hit the record button. We are already live on YouTube.
All right. And we'll aim to start about 6:05, give people a few minutes to trickle in.
Ms. Black, what's our number for quorum right now?
Give me 1 second. I'm closing down some work stuff. What is it? Half plus 1. That's Mr. Johnson's dude, and he's not here.
I think it's 7 right now, 7 or 8.
Yeah, we need 8.
Does the city council liaison count towards the 8? It looks like we're not going to need it. Yeah, okay. I didn't think so.
No, it's just the members. So yeah, the liaison, and then
We
I don't
just
think we're in the count.
yeah, like Reginald, Juliet.
Right.
Yeah,
hit quorum, so we should be good.
cool. Like I said, I'll give another minute or two. I know people.
Hey, Mr. Matt Walker.
Real quick.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Great.
Yeah, while we're waiting, can I put a plug in for the volunteer appreciation event that the city is giving? And I got to make sure that my account that I am a member that I represent is in the house, because we're going to take pictures, and I just want to make sure that you have, and I think that they said they already sent your certificates. Did you get your certificates in the mail? They claim that they sent certificates and gifts in the mail. So y'all let me know if you don't get them, because that's what they told me today. But I'd like the different meeting groups that I meet with, that I'm a liaison to, kind of show up and represent, because you are doing wonderful jobs, and I want to make sure you get your due and have your little hors d'oeuvres and take pictures and all of that. So please make sure you come. Again, that is, what did I just left it on my calendar here. It is December 5th.
Yes.
Right before our council meeting, and it's at 5:00. So please come. And then I'm going to be quiet.
And it's actually up on the announcements too, Councilman Hyman.
Okay, I just want to make sure that my people are there. Okay.
We got you covered. It's on our agenda. We want to make sure.
This works because we'll hit it at the beginning of the meeting. We'll hit it at the end of the meeting. You don't have an excuse anymore.
You get to take your picture, and you get to be, yes, I want to make sure that my people are there. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I thought the gifts was being mailed directly to us.
Yeah, they are. They're being,
Okay.
They told me that today. The gifts are being mailed to you, and your certificates, the pictures and everything will be taken care of. Like I said, I want my people to be there. So not that I don't want everybody to be there, but I definitely want to make sure that y'all are there.
You got it.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and I'll call the meeting to order. So thank you all for coming this month. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, safe travels, fun with friends, family, however you spend it. I hope it went well. I'm going to hand it over to Leah to do the roll real quick.
Thanks so much, Brian. So if I mispronounce your name, let me know. And Valen, I heard it's just Valen. And you're first, so I'm glad that you already said how your name was pronounced. Just so you guys are aware, Valen and Alexa, just stay here, just come off mute and say here when I call your name. So Valen Alford.
Here.
Perfect. Ahmed Ali.
Here.
Okay. Robert Brown. Myself, I am here. Rashaki Furness.
Here.
Alexa Hartenstein.
Here.
Amy Jones.
Here.
Seth Candle.
Here.
Richard LeBennett. I don't see Richard yet. Brian Langloss.
Here.
Carl Newman.
Here.
And Rebeck.
Here.
Oh, and just so you all know, Rachel Eberhard does have an excused absence. And then I forgot one. Donald Hughes is also not here. Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.
I'm sorry, Leah, who was the last one?
Donald Hughes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Yeah, as Leah mentioned, we do have two new members. Valen, I hope I said that right, and Alexa. So I'm going to give them a minute or two to introduce themselves. So we'll just go in the same role order. Valen, if you want to go first.
Okay, no pressure, but social workers can get it done. So I am Valen Alford. I am a clinical social worker and a Durham native. I graduated from Southern Durham High School, went to undergrad at UNC Greensboro, and then completed my MSW at Howard University. I worked in the DMV area for about 10 years and moved back to Durham. When I went to DC, Chocolate City was becoming Mocha City. And when I moved back home, Durham was rapidly changing. And so professionally, I've been doing a lot of different things. And it's just really been important to me to get involved as my community is changing, the demographics are changing. And, you know, as a Black woman, a social worker, a Durham native, all those good things, I thought it'd be important to really figure out what's going on, participate, and advocate for residents who look like myself, and all the Durhamites. So I'm just really excited to be here and be part of this committee.
Thank you, and we're glad to have you. I look forward to the insights you bring. I know we get a lively bunch in here sometimes, asking people questions for you know, the various people that come in. So it's always exciting to get new input and new voices on that.
Thank you.
Alexa, if you'd like to introduce yourself real quick.
Sure. My name is Alexa Hartenstein Hamel, and I'm a social worker as well, which is exciting. Grew up sort of all over, but mostly Miami, Florida, but have been in Durham for at least maybe 18 years, something like that. So Durham is definitely home. I have a background in more of the child welfare, child maltreatment prevention programs, as well as early childhood. And I'm currently with the Division of Public Health, working on some maternal mental health initiatives. I just always have been one to go out and volunteer and want to help support my community and build up families. And, you know, especially in regards to kind of community and economic supports that can be put in place to enhance families. So I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. I think you might be the first one who specialized in like child care work, at least since I've been on the committee. So that'll be, you know, we tend to tackle these from like the very broad, you know, aspect. And so seeing that insight into specifically the impact on children will be nice. So thank you both for volunteering your time. I look forward to working with you all. The next thing we will have is going to be a review and voting on the minutes from last month. Juliet, if you wouldn't mind bringing the minutes up. Hopefully you all have had them and had a chance to look over them. But if you see anything or notice anything that needs to be corrected or noted or included, please share that now. All right, with no comments, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
Amy Jones will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Brown will second the minutes.
All right. And with that, we'll just do a voice vote. So all in favor of approving the minutes as is, say aye.
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 Say nay. No opposed, so we'll approve them as they are. Thank you all. So the first, or not the first, I guess the fourth thing on this is, or I guess I have the old agenda up. But we were going to have Karen come speak about the home ARP funding, do some jury duty. That's not happening today, but we do have Matthew Walker to give us an update on the multifamily community development work. And so I will hand it over to Matthew.
Okay. Good evening. Put together a PowerPoint for everyone. I'm going to try to share it. So real quick sort of overview of what we're doing and what's going on. It's just a little bit about me. So I guess you hit share screen and that's that. Let's see. Beginning. Can we see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Cover page, boring. Matt Walker, I'm the multifamily team leader. Introducing myself, my background is in community development, affordable housing, redevelopment, public housing, and economic development. As you all know, community and economic development and housing all sort of go together. And I'm originally from Philadelphia. I've been here since the end, about this time in 2017. So been around for about 5 years in CDD, and it's sort of what I do, what I've been doing all of my career in the government setting. Worked for Philadelphia Housing Authority, Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, a couple of nonprofits in the city of Philadelphia, all doing community and economic development. And for those of you who are familiar with Philadelphia, the areas in which I work mirror Durham's position in the Triangle. And like the young lady said a little earlier, you know, there's areas of gentrification. There's still some depressed, blighted area. The market's changing, and all of these dynamics always impact on, you know, the opportunities for folks to have affordable housing. Either the prices are too high or the area is depressed. There's blight issues that you're dealing with. So a little bit about me. You know, I've been here again since 2017, and my background is in community and economic development. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how we're organized here. I am here under multifamily rental. So our department is basically two sides. It's a strategy side, and which I'm on, and there's a fiscal and planning side. On the strategy side, the way we're organized, we have multifamily rental. We have the homelessness programs that you guys talked about last time. Dr. Pullum does neighborhood stabilization activities. And we also have a compliance person that's vacant right now. So, and if you can see my pointer, on the team, we have 2 analysts and we have a coordinator. Keisha Barnett, I'm not sure if you're familiar with any of these folks. Keisha Barnett is our coordinator. Richard Balzanis and Robin Reese, who's just joined us, she's been here for a year now from Milwaukee. They're our senior analysts. So they're, you know, consider them project managers for the most part, and Keisha is the coordinator, keeps it all together for us. I'm the manager. I manage my own projects, mostly the Durham Housing Authority projects, because it's easier for me to group them together. But we're handling a number of multifamily development projects, mostly through loans, sometimes through grants, and working with small nonprofits and working with for-profit developers. They're pretty large. And we're happy that they're coming to the city. That gives you an idea of how we're organized and where I sit. So as you know, we have an overarching mission in CDD. Foster safe, decent, and sustainable neighborhoods while enhancing housing quality and affordability for the citizens of Durham. As you drill down and you get to how do we do it, through financial empowerment, home retention, I put the bullet of affordable housing out there because that's what we work on in my team. Affordable housing, rental, I'd say 99% of the time, because we haven't really come across a condominium project, which would be a home ownership plus multifamily together. But as you can see, we're basically working with large scale rental developments at this point. And homelessness services is the other way to do it. So we're going to focus on the affordable housing rental, which is what I do. So you're all familiar at this point with Forever Home Durham. That has crystallized into what I'm on this slide, I'm calling our goals. Now, I know our goals are a little bit than 1,600, 800 affordable rental housing preserved. That's kind of what it crystallized to. Okay, so understand that what we're trying to do on this team is build new affordable housing rental, large scale developments, could be small scale. We have some small ones at about 15 units, 12, 15 units. A lot of them, you get a more bang for your buck when you're investing in larger scale developments where you can get 120, 80, 120, 200 units. But as you can see, that's what we're doing. And we're also trying to preserve units that are already out there. Okay, so that's keeping people in place. You can think of it as rehab, as preservation, but we think about what we're doing as creating and preserving. In the Forever Home Durham program, those goals are stated as 1,600 new affordable housing units created, 800 affordable rented units preserved. So if you think about new and preserved, you get an idea of how we're kind of targeting what we're doing. It gets, you know, there's some gray areas. You know, if you tear down a DHA development, you have to bring back the same number of public housing units. So are you really preserving those units or are you creating new? That's what I mean by about a gray area. But that aside, those are the goals that we're working on right now. So in our little team within the strategy side, we're working with funding community development block grant. You'll hear CDBG. You'll hear home funds, home investment partnerships. Karen wasn't here tonight, and there's a special carve out for home funds for the American Rescue Plan. So hopefully we can update you guys on that later. I don't deal with the ESG funds, but I put it here to give you an idea of the types of funds that we're working with. HOPWA, which are funds for persons with AIDS, there is an opportunity to use those funds. And there was a large increase lately to develop units, okay? Again, if you think about our division, you know, creating units is our hammer. We look at everything we want to create units, create units, create units. We also use dedicated housing funds and the new affordable housing bond fund. So that's the mix of funds that we're working with. This you may have seen before. This is a chart for Forever Home funding. And if you look at the orange section, which is multifamily rental, you'll see that we're dealing with $58 million to DHA. They have a large budget for what they want to do in what they call DDNP. And I'm going to go through this real quick, and you can ask questions if you're not familiar with DDNP. But that's their plan in downtown for downtown development. We also had another bucket, which in this $41 million is to do the production and preservation. We identified it as at $41 million. we're mixing it around because it's kind of hard at this time to do preservation projects. And we've had a lot of success with new LIHTC projects. So our last RFP, request for proposals, that we put out, we got a good response, and we spent all of the $15 million that we put out there. So there was more uptake than we expected. We have a line item for preservation outreach that we haven't really dealt with yet. That is us talking to folks that are already the owners of either, they call it NOAH, which is naturally occurring affordable housing, NOAH, for units that are in neighborhoods where the units are already affordable. They're naturally affordable. But as we spoke about earlier, gentrification threatens those units because developers will come in, rehab them, and then charge higher rent. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to those naturally occurring affordable housing, in addition to income restricted properties that could be coming out of their affordability period, that there's an opportunity to keep them affordable. So this gives you an idea of how multifamily rental, our department, fits in with the bigger budget. I think you've probably looked at our pipeline that we've gone through before. Maybe Reginald or some of our other team members have given you an update on what we've done in the past. So this is a slide that I've taken from something that we've already presented. But J.J. Henderson, Elizabeth Street, Commerce Street, J.J. Henderson, these are all DHA projects. So think about the Durham Housing Authority as really a good chunk of the development that's going on right now, converting these public housing developments to better, newer, more efficient, more desirable mixed income projects, keeping the same number of return units and building newer ones. Ashton Place, Hardy Street, Crescent Street, these are things that we've worked on in the past. And most recently, these four at the bottom, JFK Towers, Fairhaven Walk, Cedar Trace, these are projects that answered our RFP in 2022. And as you can see, 178 units, 192 units, 182 units, 132 units. Those are the size of the projects that we've made commitments to and that we're funding right now to move things forward. So if you take this chart, you'll see that we have the 1,600 units either under construction or about to go under construction. As you know, the pandemic is very challenging. And one of the things that's in the pandemic that caught our team off guard, you know, we're thinking pandemic, we're thinking depressed market. But as you know, Durham is a hot market. It never really, the prices never really went down. As a matter of fact, once we came out of the pandemic, or if you consider us coming out of the pandemic now, the supply chain issues caused increases in the cost of construction. Folks couldn't buy lumber, couldn't get roofing, couldn't get this supply. If they were going to get it, it would take longer. And even if they got it, it's more expensive. As we see now, interest rates are rising. So we see a pressure on the per unit cost. They're increasing anywhere from 25% to 100% per unit. So we made, if you go back to the production goal of 1,600 and 800, we're getting squeezed now because those numbers were based on an assumption that we maybe put $50,000 per unit into a project. We're kind of putting double that in that. So keep that in mind. I kind of wanted to just talk about our team, and I'll answer any questions. And we had a staff meeting, and I thought, okay, let's talk about a SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. One of the strengths of our team within CDD is that we have been able to get projects under commitment. We've been able to tell Mr. Developer or Ms. Developer, we can fund your project. So that's great. It may have cost us a little more, but administratively, we've been able to get projects under construction and get things committed. One of our weaknesses at this point is really the planning function, because it's kind of hard to know what's coming next. Okay, coming out of the pandemic, what's the market going to do? Is it, going to be more expensive? Is land going to be scarcer? What's funding going to look like? So planning the next few years is one of the things that we're struggling with. A great opportunity is DHA. And as you know, they were awarded $40 million in choice neighborhood funding for the implementation of what they're doing. So that's a great opportunity that will help us to keep producing as a whole. One of the challenges again is planning, because the market is so volatile. It's kind of hard to figure out what's coming next. We're very good at reacting, but we really don't want to be constantly reacting to things. We kind of want to plan ahead to make sure we can say we're going to produce X number of units at this time on a schedule. Again, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the DDNP Choice Neighborhood Initiative. It's downtown. Downtown's a huge area. That's the focus area. What the award went to, the public housing site that the award is targeted, is 519 East Main Street, which had the old Oldham and Liberty's Tower and the Liberty Street side. Comes with $40 million. And there's a three-prong approach. There's a housing approach, which is the bricks and mortar. There is a people approach, which is dealing with people and educational issues. And then there is a neighborhood approach, which is economic development. They call them critical community improvements. How are you going to transform this neighborhood? And again, downtown is huge, but they're focused on 519 East Main Street. So I wanted to kind of share this. Let me see if I can share. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to share another screen. Hope this works. This is sort of, can we see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I live a lot in Google Earth. And kind of the best way, if folks are familiar, the purple is the outline of Durham, the city boundary. So we can get an idea of what where JFK Towers we just funded, where Fairhaven Walk is, where Sandy Ridge Station, they're kind of northern Durham, right? We funded Cedar Trace, and if you zoom in, you can see it's right off of this is the new extension. But what's most interesting is DHA, the opportunity. This red outline here is the boundary of DDNP. And if you start to look here, you'll see we are working to redevelop Forest Hills Heights. The city has a South Side project there. We're funding a small site with Reinvestment Partners, Harriet's Place. Okay, we're making investments in McDougal Terrace, and McDougal Terrace is going to be demolished pretty soon. And we are planning with Durham Housing Authority to redevelop this whole site. And you see the synergy with NCCU. You can see the synergy with downtown and the main office. And if we zoom in a little bit closer here, this is the main site that's going to be developed under DDNP, Oldham Towers and the Liberty Street site. So there's a lot going on. We're spending the money from the Affordable Housing Bond Fund. We're using CDBG and Home to make these investments, and we are actually planning for the future. So I think the last slide after that said questions.
I have one question. When is McDougal Terrace going to be torn down or some development in that area?
So there is a document called a recovery agreement. So the Public Housing Authority, DHA, if they don't score well, they're considered troubled by by HUD. So HUD has already said that the Durham Housing Authority is troubled and has asked, they've executed a recovery agreement. In this recovery agreement, it says that the Housing Authority has to have a plan by February for the redevelopment of McDougal Terrace. So if DHA does what they're supposed to do, what they agreed to do, by February of next year, we will know what the plan is at McDougal Terrace. Now, I don't have it with me, and I think they kind of wanted to keep it kind of confidential at this point. So there is a site plan developed, a preliminary plan developed for McDougal. And for McDougal also, what they're trying to do is redevelop it in conjunction with the Lincoln Apartments. Are you familiar with the apartments next to it?
Yes.
Yeah, so they've acquired that. So I think the best way to answer your question is by February, there should be a plan that folks could look at.
Okay, because I had a question for Reginald if he was on about AMI and what happens when the tenants that are there now are, I guess, relocated, or are they going to go back into that newly developed project, or how they?
That's a good question, and it depends on the strategy that the housing authority uses. They've already gotten hit because there's vacancies there, and if you remember, there was a carbon monoxide issue, and it's old, and they were, rewiring and bringing in new appliances. So a housing authority can slowly move people out and let the units go vacant. Normally, if they use the rental assistance demonstration program or the RAD program, folks have a right to return, 100% right to return. But if folks kind of just get relocated now at the early stage, they may not necessarily come under the right to return umbrella. But generally, everybody is relocated using the Uniform Relocation Act.
Right.
I don't see why, if anybody wanted to return, they couldn't.
So I guess my last question is, in that area, are they going to be torn down and rebuilt, or with the future development look a lot better? And is it just, are we going to put new projects back in the same place and put the same people?
And yeah, and to Mr. Brown's point, like, is it going to be townhouses, or will it be like an apartment, like a higher rise apartment building going in that location, in addition to some of the townhouses?
Well, I don't want to.
Will they be mixed use?
Right, and
I don't have other services in the building.
I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak for the housing authority.
Right. I'm saying if the goal is, maybe not speak for them, but I know you'll have some comments there. But if the goal is to tear it down, rebuild them, and then have the same income-based renters there, you haven't fixed the problem with that area.
So may I just interject 1 minute? Good evening, everyone. Mr. Robert, I had the opportunity to actually sit at the table with the builders and the residents. And what they did is they broke us up into different tables with residents. And, I just was kind of a standby, but active and get involved. So I was at the table with them. And what they did was they had different floor plans of what people might want it to look like. So what I loved about it, and actually the news came, they took pictures of it, they had it all on the news, so you probably can find where we were all at the table. You see my face there, right? They gave them different formats. So they gave them townhouse format. They gave them formats where you have maybe, that what it looks like now, but they actually had the opportunity, the residents, to chime in on what and how they wanted it to look. And so honestly, most people wanted more like a kind of what it looks like now, but more like a townhome kind of feel. But then we also talked about those people with disabilities, right? And so it was really a good meeting that we had where everybody that came was at the table with the builders, and they gave them different floor plans and asked them, what do you want to see? Do you want to see more parks? Do you want to see more trees? Do you want to see A, B, C, and D? And a lot of them talked about it not, of course, Mr. Robert, looking like it looks now. And
Well, that's not all of what I'm getting at here. What I'm really getting at is if you rebuild them and put the same tenants in the same buildings, then you haven't gotten rid of the problems there. And I thought,
right, I see that.
yeah, that's where I'm headed there. So
Yeah, I thought you were talking about what's it going to look like. So I'm sorry
Yeah,
that I outspoke,
no,
but I misspoke. But I was speaking more about the residents being able to chime in on what they wanted to see there. So sorry if I misunderstood your question.
right, I wasn't clear, but that's okay. We have time, but we have February to talk about this again.
As you can see, I have this PDF and they said it was confidential, so I'm not going to share too much and go into it too much. But there is a planning process with the housing authority, and they do have a plan. Generally, you know, once things are torn down, the things that come back based on community input are probably a little bit high rise, 3 or 4 story, maybe some townhomes. One of the key things that they want to do is make sure it's mixed income so that they can bring in higher income folks, so that there's a mix, so that the neighborhood doesn't feel like it's a concentration of low income housing.
That's what
And generally, yeah, and look, they can come back with you know, local retail services if those things aren't in the neighborhood. Try to bring those amenities to the neighborhood to address the issues that you know, cause any blighting or depression in the first place. So
And again, now to your question, they did talk about, the residents talked about making sure that they are abiding by the rules and the guidelines on who actually lives in the apartments. So for example, you might have someone, a family, right? And they have other people living with them or people in their family that might have an issue with the law, whatever the case may be. But right now, sometimes we're not abiding by actually who lives in that apartment. So to your question, they said they really want to make sure that the guidelines are followed to who lives, because I'm a little girl that grew up in the projects, right? In New York City, in the Bronx. And everybody that lived in those apartments were not technically on that lease, right? Which brings in some issues sometimes. So they did speak to that. So I want to let you know that the residents were really concerned about people really sticking to the guidelines of who's supposed to live in those apartments that sometimes might bring in different people that are causing issues in the community. So
I'm a person that grew up close to McDougal Terrace. I completely understand. And I guess my point is that there are a lot of convicted felons that end up back there, period, full stop. And if you rebuild it and the same people have access, we have the same problem. We haven't fixed that whole issue. So, yeah, but that's a discussion again for another day. Thank you very much.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much. First of all, I will say between last month when we were talking about like the how we're addressing homelessness and this month with you, Mr. Johnson is very fortunate to have some really, really strong people reporting to him. So thank you. It's been wonderful. Thank you for your presentation. But my question, and this might not even be a question for you, but are they going to try to do anything with TA Grady before they tear down the rest of McDougal? Because I know there was another vandalism there recently. So
TA Grady?
TA Grady is the community center at McDougal.
I don't know anything about that. I couldn't speak on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask Mr. Scott about that.
Okay.
It's gonna be at Burton School, right next to Burton School.
Yeah. Well, I see a question about Mr. Scott said McDougal would no longer be a DHA facility. Anne?
Yeah, no, that wasn't a question. I thought when but it was like my first meeting and he presented, was that when it was? Am I right, Rashaki? Was that our first meeting? And when he talked about McDougal, he was very much like, this whole area is going to be, I mean, please jump in because I know some
Mm-hmm.
of you are there. This whole area is going to be reimagined. It will no longer be it will no longer be considered a DHA facility. I'm
Well,
not sure. Like I
so-
said, I could be
so-
wrong.
Yeah, as
let
far
me-
as I
yeah.
know, that's staying within DHA. Like
Yeah,
they
let
will
me-
rebuild McDougal as a better DHA property for residents to live.
So let's think about this. DHA, the actual housing authority, actually has title to this site. And there's a declaration of trust on there from HUD that says this is public housing forever, right? But HUD doesn't give you 100% of what you need. So they came up with a plan that allows the housing authority to redevelop the site. So it will no longer be considered public housing. However, DHA could have the ground lease, and then you'd have another developer that would be operating the brand new reimagined site. So someone could think of it as not being public housing because it's not public housing anymore, but it's being funded through DHA's funding stream through HUD, and the long-term ownership is DHA, but it's not public housing the way it is public housing right now. So that, so it's a fine line between how you're actually thinking about public housing and how you're thinking about the mixed finance development on the back end. You will definitely have outside investors, outside managers. You'll always have DHA involved because they have the long-term land lease. They brought the deal with the developers. They have a partnership agreement, and DHA also will probably have some equity in it, but it won't be considered public housing. It'll be considered probably more accurately a LIHTC development. But that's not to say that the Durham Housing Authority, which has a subsidiary called DVI, would still have an investment in it, would still have some control, because when you look at the partnership, it looks like an organizational chart. You got an LLC and limited partner and a silent partner, and then you got managing agents all over the place. And then you have DHA owning the land and DVI making an investment. So DHA will always be involved, but it may not look like public housing to anybody from the outside. So I hope that clarifies.
Last question. So will the tenants then
Oh,
have,
no, I have a couple questions.
so then will the tenants then have access to grant funds to live there, or will they, fall under AMI guidelines? For example, family of 4, would they need to meet those guideline qualifications to be able to live there? What type of qualifications, if you can share that with us at this point, would the tenants then have in order to qualify to stay over there? And what, there could be grants that are part of what they that we give them to live there, but what type of income would they need to have, or just going to be families that don't have, their income's extremely low?
I think the best way to answer that is think of it as a mix, right? The folks that have a right to return will come in and they could be very low income, 30% and below. Then you'll probably have tax credit equity and tax credits brought to the table, which allow you to actually go up to 80%. So you'd have, based on how it's structured, based on how much money folks are putting in and they can bring to the table, you would have a mixed income development with very low income people and market rate. Some folks will tell you the market rate is not really the sky high market rate, but for our example, the income could be unlimited. So you'll have a wide band from very low income to market rate income in the ultimate development. But if your concern is, will it still be affordable to a certain number of folks? Yes, because that's the rules in with DHA development. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. That does. Thank you.
And there were more
Thank
questions?
you. Rashaki, you had a question?
Yes, Yes, my question actually kind of piggybacks off of Mr. Brown's. Matthew, I don't know if you have the ability to go back to the project pipeline slide that you shared, but in comparing the mixed income properties, or I'm sorry, units within the different projects, there wasn't a clear comparison. Like, it may have said that there will be, you know, some reserved properties, but correct me if I'm wrong, all of that unit will not be preserved as a certain income base, just a portion, correct? I was hoping for a comparison on that slide.
This
Okay.
slide?
Yes. Okay. So, for example, the very first one, the number of affordable units will be 80, but that's 80 of how many? Or is that all of them?
I see. Okay. And I'm not on mute right now, right?
No, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, great. Sorry. So, yeah, this slide, this slide is telling you how many affordable units that we're building. Now, again, affordable units, we'll consider up to, 80% of area median income. So that's an aggregate of everything that's in there. So J.J. Henderson new construction, if the total units there are 80. So I can tell you what we're saying is 80 out of 80 will be affordable. And that may be the rule through this whole chart. So I haven't broken down, and I don't think I would break it down for these, because it seems to me that we're capturing everything, although maybe not on Commerce Street. Like Commerce Street, where it says 63 and 66, there may be market rate units. I'd have to check and go back to see if there's additional units being created that we're not calling affordable, because I think that's your question, Ms. Furness?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let's see. I think for everything on this slide, those are the total number of units in the development, except for Commerce Street Family and Seniors, because there may be some additional units in those projects. I'd have to check. I don't have that information for you now, but I can get it to you. And there's also, Juliet, if you can remind me, we are tracking our metrics based on total number of units, how the units break down between 30% affordable, affordable to 30%, 50%, 60% as best we can. So we can get you some additional information on the affordability bands and the total number of units. So one of the things that this committee, if you would pay attention to, because I tell my folks all the time, and I think you guys will be particularly interested in it. And it has to do with DHA and DHA's strategy of mixed income, okay? Because there's a significant number of market rate units being developed. Not that that's not a bad thing, because their strategy is mixed income. But I think it does go to the heart of your question. DHA, their plan says they're going to do 2,500 units. They're not all affordable, right? I think there might be 25% of them may be market rate units. So if you're keeping track, that's a very good metric to look at, what's total number of units and how many of them are affordable. Because in this case, like you said, this is just showing you what's affordable. It's not showing you the total number of units. So I can get back to you with that, because we do have a spreadsheet that I can share, and if you got questions next time, we can.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I also have the slides that Mr. Scott had when he gave the DHA overview, and I think that has the total units and things, at least for those top 4 or 5 on that slide that are the DHA properties. I can't find them in my email right now, but I know I have them, so I can look that up too and send at least a little bit of that information out as well this week. Amy, do you have the question?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
I'm sorry, again, it's me. You mentioned, oh, my thumb is in front of my camera. There we go. You mentioned Central when you were talking about like those boundaries and stuff. And obviously Central is right across the street from both McDougald and the newly acquired Lincoln Apartments. And so how are you working with Central, and like, are some of those apartments going to maybe be open to students and things of that nature?
So, what again, another thing that we can probably share with you is the Choice Neighborhood Transformation Plan. So the city is a co-applicant. It's really being driven by the Housing Authority. The city's a co-applicant, but this transformation plan, which is transforming the larger downtown area, obviously there's
And a bunch of
synergy.
Hayti.
And a bunch of Hayti, right? So this is a very concentrated area of development. NCCU was listed as a partner in the transformation plan. Now, what does that exactly mean? It means, they're bringing resources to the table, they're doing things, but I don't see a direct sort of development partnership between NCCU and the things that are going on, but I can guess that it's, that's got to happen in the future. I do know that, we got a proposal, not from NCCU, from Durham Tech to do affordable housing development, which is adjacent to the same neighborhood. So, yes, to answer the question, NCCU is.
And Durham Tech was like a big partner in the Choice neighborhoods too.
That's correct. That's correct. And again, that's kind of one of the challenges that we have, trying to look 2 years forward to see, especially in this area, how best to deploy the funds. Because when I look at it, I put on Google Earth and I see how these areas overlap, and you can see the opportunities for folks at NCCU to work at McDougald Terrace. Maybe you build some things at McDougald that work well with students, or maybe you don't. I don't know, but I believe everybody's at the table and they're talking. I just don't know exactly what those partnerships are going to look like. Now, remember, Choice Neighborhoods is 6 years and it's constantly evolving. One of the things, again, if you can remember, is to ask for the plan. That way you can get a better idea of how, we believe these things are supposed to work together, especially to deploy what they're calling critical community improvements and the people part of the plan.
Yeah, thank you so much. So just so you know, Mr. Walker, like I'm the executive director of Porch Durham, which is a food security nonprofit in Durham County. And we're part of that people plan, actually.
Oh, great.
And so, yeah, so I was like there at the dedication and all that jazz. It was great. But yeah, so I think like it's literally right across the street from Central. So like, how can we integrate what is already here? Like, it feels like there's so much opportunity there.
I think
I
would agree. I would agree.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
I think that area is crying out for attention, and I know we're developing other parts of town, but because it's near the university and I guess where it's located, and it's been there since the 50s, it's crying out for help.
Yes.
A lot of people there who they need a better alternative than living in McDougald Terrace. Period.
Is there another question?
100% agreed. Leah, you're up for a question.
This is not complicated. I just saw a request in the chat and wanted to make sure that we got it out. Mr. Walker, would you be able to send us your slides and all of that? You can send them to Juliet, and she can, if Juliet's okay with that, I don't want to speak with her, but she'll get them to me, and I'll make sure that they're reflected in our minutes, and that way they can get around to everyone in this group and also be available to the public who can access our minutes.
Sure.
Thank you
Not
so
a
much.
problem.
That'd be great. Thank you. Valen?
Hi, it's Valen and Mr.
Sorry,
Walker.
thank you for
It's
correcting.
okay. It's okay. It's like Valentine's Day. That's how lots of people remember it. But and I wanted to sit it out because I like to just kind of take it all in at first. But I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Walker, how you were describing the community development plan as it relates to the McDougal area. The way that I'm hearing it, it sounds like once McDougal is demolished, we'll lose public housing, but it'll turn into some affordable housing. And I guess I'm confused about what happens, and only a percentage of the residents who are there now will have the right to return. Is that right?
No.
Okay.
Well, so let me address that. They all have the right to return. There's a caveat though, there's like, let's say there's 350 units there.
Sure.
DHA could take 100 of those and transfer that assistance. It's called transfer of assistance. They could transfer that to any other part of the city. So folks have a right to return to where the units are being built. They may be a little off-site. They may be at the Lincoln site, which is, might be just across the street. But everybody has a right to return. That's how the rules are written. So let me make that clear. Everybody has a right to return. So folks shouldn't worry about being able to return to the site. I mean, that's one of the great things about the RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration Project. Folks have a right to return.
Okay, and what you mentioned in terms of the people who, if they move before then, I thought you were saying if they move before a certain point in time, they won't have that right to return.
So let's think about this. DHA has 350 units there now. They had the electrical carbon monoxide problem. You remember that, or the gas carbon monoxide problem. Pandemic struck. They have to deal with folks. It's very expensive having folks in hotels. So they can slowly relocate people to another public housing site. So maybe 20 or 30 folks moved out of McDougal and they never put a new family back in. So let's say they went from there to Cornwallis. They're housed. They just moved from here to Cornwallis. So the question is, well, once this is redeveloped 5 years from now, do the folks that are sitting at Cornwallis have a right to return to McDougal? That's where it gets kind of sticky. And I'm sure that there's a date where folks that are there are considered the folks that have a right to return. So I'm going to generalize that folks have a right to return back to McDougal if they were there when the redevelopment plan goes to HUD. Is that a little clearer?
It is. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
But when the gas leaks happen, we send them all to hotels. And so are they going to like stay in hotels, or like where will they stay while McDougal is being redeveloped?
So my understanding is, there's nobody in hotels anymore. Everybody has been either rehoused to the little bit of work that they did, or they either got a voucher and found housing on a private market, or they were relocated to another Durham Housing Authority site. And remember, Durham Housing Authority, they redid Maureen Road, and they have other sites that folks can move to. So nobody's at hotels anymore. It cost the DHA a lot of money to have those folks in the hotel. So they really wanted to end that as quickly as possible. And it wasn't healthy for a household.
But they had them in hotels until like a couple months ago. They did.
McDougal is, I can't tell you where everybody's at because I'm not tracking the relocation there. But I can tell you it was expensive, and the best way for them to handle it was to move folks into other vacant units that they would have rehabbed that, you know, that the family size fit in, and give them vouchers so that they can find properties on the private market.
And I believe as part of that answer is, I know when Mr. Scott talked about the DHA's plans, part of the planning for doing like rebuilds and rehab, or rehabs and rebuilds and new construction stuff in stages, is that you open up some new units that you then can move people into to then rehab or rebuild the ones they were in. Is my understanding for part of the decision to do things in stages. So.
Well, that's definitely happening for the choice neighborhoods thing, where which is 519 East Main and Liberty. They are like kind of like scooching people out to scooch them back in. But McDougald's a little bit different because it's a lot of families over there.
Yeah, and on my swap chart, I look at it as an opportunity. It's challenging, but it's definitely an opportunity. I mean, it's a huge site. One of the biggest questions that I have is, how much is it going to cost? And where is this money going to come from? Because we've done the affordable housing bond. We did the $58 million, well, $99 million. And we've identified DDNP downtown. And again, if we go back to the boundaries of the DDNP, McDougald is not in there. So McDougald is sitting out over here with a plan that may be $100 million that they need.
Yeah, but that's
we don't know. We don't know. It's an opportunity and it's a challenge at the same time. And DHA is going through their planning stages right now. So hopefully Mr. Scott will be back and give you guys an update on where they are, which would give me sort of marching orders on how the city can assist or where the city can assist.
Well, thank you for explaining. I think you've done a great job explaining it to us. We're just trying to get some answers. I think if you look at the model for Few Gardens, and how Few Gardens projects was torn down, go back to the 70s to 80s to when it was torn down and redeveloped, that area has an appearance of being nice. You know, you've got new construction there, people have moved back in. I don't know what the crime rate is like in that area, but it just appears to be a nicer environment for that community. So if I can envision in my mind how McDougald would look like that, I'm comfortable. But I'm not comfortable when I think about it being projects, you know? So with that, I'll just stop. But I think you did a great job. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If not, I'll email my PowerPoint and I'll just let you guys continue.
And like, honestly, the beautiful thing about McDougald is that their resident president is completely amazing and is so engaged in our community. Like I know Mr. Walker, you know Ashley. I work with Ashley every day, Ashley Kennedy. And like, she's gonna make sure that her people in McDougald are very well cared for.
Strong tenant leadership is important. Every DHA development should have a strong tenant council to give a voice to how the tenants feel. Because I know we've gone through a lot of planning sessions, and sometimes it's hard to get folks out. It's hard to pull out of the folks that we're trying to serve. What works best for you? I mean, I know we went through the pandemic and nobody wanted to come out and things were on Zoom and they weren't well attended. But as you can see, a strong tenant leader gets the word out, gets the feedback from the community, and you don't plan. What sticks in my mind from years and years of doing this is, you plan with people. You don't plan for them. So
yeah,
strong tenant leadership is very important.
And Ashley is the best. And she's so well connected. And even Laura, I went to the bus tour that we did recently, and Laura was there. She's the secretary of the McDougall Council, and like they're committed and they love where they live and they love their residents. So it's good.
Okay.
Thank you all. As always, I appreciate everyone's engagement. It's much nicer than, past years or past meetings where people just kind of calmly listen and don't really engage as much. So I wholeheartedly appreciate everyone's engagement. And thank you, Matthew, for your time and answering all our questions. And thank you for sending out the slides. And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to send them our way and we'll make sure they get to Matthew as well. Next, I'm going to hand things over to Carl. He's going to talk about some new developments we've had in the executive group and things we've talked about, and he's going to kind of take the lead on sharing that all with you.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, this is a sort of discussion point for today, and then it'll turn into an agenda item at a future meeting. We got $1,000 to spend as the starting point. This was a budget approval that was in line with some of the like equity funding they've done for city committees in the last couple of years in trying to make it easier for people to serve on and actively participate in these committees. So what we have is $1,000 that we got to spend by June 30th because it is for this fiscal year. And in terms of what we can spend it on, they sort of sent some parameters saying that we could use it for training or a retreat or devices potentially. And so like what we mean when we say devices and something like that is if it was for a committee member to get access or reliable access to participate in these meetings, which are on Zoom, so there's a sort of like tech equity aspect of it. It'd be a machine that's really owned by the city, but we could give it to a member for the purpose of being able to access or participate. And then, of course, one of the other things that Brian and I sort of an idea that popped into our head is that we could also possibly spend it on a public facing or towards the cost of a public facing event during Community Development Week. Something, whether that's even just food at a meeting that the public's invited to, any number of things. So first, we wanted to raise at this meeting, but what we really are hoping for is that if you have ideas about how we could spend the money, that actually you would send those to the executive committee, to Leah, Brian, and me, anytime in the next month or two, so that we can actually have as an agenda item on, maybe the January meeting. Here was a couple of the ideas about how to spend the money and about how far we think it can go, and then have it just turn into a thing that we vote on how we're going to spend it. We absolutely must spend it before the end of the fiscal year, or it's a sort of use it or lose it. But the hope is that we would do this year, and that this will become kind of a recurring part of the committee's work going forward. Any questions about that?
I was just going to say, so as part of my day job, I recently went on a bus tour of the community development, the CNI grant properties. And it was so incredibly informative. And like Mr. Scott was there and the other Anthony was there. But if we could do something like that for everyone to see these properties, I think that's money well spent.
Yeah, and that definitely, I can tell you from what we've been told about how we're allowed to spend this money, something like that would definitely qualify.
Juliet?
Just a correction, Vice Chair, the devices are a loan. They do not get to keep the device once they leave the committee.
I swear I said the city would own it. It wouldn't be yours, but yeah.
I thought I heard it otherwise, but I just want to make sure we're all clear.
Yeah, I'm not buying anybody an iPad.
Okay, they do not get to keep it, so.
Yeah, but
just
the city can buy the
clarification.
city an iPad and a member can use it. Yeah, so, yeah. But yes, so yeah, if you have ideas on how we can spend the money, where the ideas, our thinking is we'll try to collect some of those ideas, bring them to a meeting in about January and say, here's kind of what we're thinking. And it may be that we have 3 different ideas and some of them are cheap and we can actually fund multiple of them. But yeah, so that is sort of the plan.
I think it was Amy that just spoke, but I also went on that tour, and for those who have, like Mr. Robert has a lot of questions, it was very educational. So I think that would be a good thing for the committee to be able to go on that tour. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to speculate. You can actually get the answers from the people who know the answers. So it was, I did go on it too, with Amy.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah,
really-
Monique, I saw you on that tour. You were wearing your sweatpants.
I was blending in. I was blending in. No, yeah, I was.
But yeah, you crushed it that day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a very informative. It was great to see the whole thing. So yeah, it was good.
And a lot of the questions that people are asking, like Mr. Robert, like those questions would definitely be answered there on that tour. So that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid suggestion. And yeah, like Carl said, if you have any more thoughts or ideas over the next month or two, please send them our way. Our idea is to kind of collect them, organize them, and then bring them to discuss as a group as a whole once we've had time to kind of think about them, and discuss them and decide as a group. With that, in terms of having a month or two to send us things, the next item on our agenda is actually looking ahead to the December meeting. This is scheduled for December 19th. But in the past, given that the holiday season is always a little hectic for everyone, everyone's traveling at different times, has a million different work things and whatnot that they have to attend. In the past, we have, as a committee, voted to not hold the December meeting. And so I just wanted to bring that to the floor and give people the opportunity, if we as a group so choose, to vote to not hold that meeting and then meet in January instead.
I motion to not hold a December meeting. This is Amy Jones.
And I'll second that. And if you'll allow it, Mr. Chair, with a brief discussion, this is what we've done the last couple of years. It also avoids the possibility of having a few of us show up to a December meeting, have no quorum, and have to leave.
Yeah.
Which has happened for those of you that weren't on the committee. It actually happened this year in May where we didn't have quorum. And so despite all the preparation by staff and by members, we couldn't actually hold our meeting. So not a great fun time, especially for the dedicated housing staff who do a lot of work to prepare for these meetings.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, hearing a motion to vote on suspending the December meeting, and a second from Carl. If there's any, oh, sorry, Matt was waving his hand. Matthew.
Yeah, I was kind of just hanging around in the background. I have one thing I just kind of want to put out there. Karen's not here, and she was going to make a presentation about the home ARP.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at, what am I looking at? I'm looking at something called the Home ARP Substantial Amendment Timeline as of 11/14. Now, I don't know if this is a big deal, but there is a December 19th consultation presentation to CAC on this schedule.
Yeah,
she's not here. I don't know if that is affecting what you're saying now.
She's aware of it, Matt. I told her about it prior to.
Okay, great.
Don't
All
try to make us show up for December. Be quiet, Matt. Be quiet, Matt.
Look, I worry.
Yeah.
I worry.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
He had an order, Mr. Chair. He's not a member. He doesn't vote.
Juliet is shutting that down real quick. I saw that hand pop up immediately. All right.
I'll leave.
I'll open the floor for a vote. Again, we'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor of canceling the December meeting, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, hearing no opposed, we will cancel the December meeting and not meet again until January 23rd. Next, I'll turn to Juliet to see if we actually have any public attendees that have any comments or questions they would like to voice or ask.
We actually have 3. I'm showing CBS 17, Mr. Avery and Ms. Jones. I will let them in now. Give me a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone came over except for Mr. Avery. So it's back to you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I saw Jessica Jones pop in and then drop out. By CBS 17, if you have any questions or comments. No? All right. And then so the last thing on the meeting is the announcements. I don't have any broader ones. I do want to just say and remind everyone about the appreciation event on December 5th. Please show up to it. If for no other reason, then it'll be the first time as a committee we've been able to meet in person for almost 3 years now. And so it'd be great to actually meet everyone in person. We are scheduled for our committee photo at 5:19. So if everyone could show up by 5:05, somewhere in that area, that way we're all there. If they get moving quickly and are ahead, they will just go on to the next group if they're ahead. And if we're not there, we get skipped. So please, everyone, if you could attend, that would be great. I know Councilwoman Monique has already voiced her her opinions that she wants us all there since she represents us and was on this committee. So don't let her down either. And then I see Leah, you have a comment, and then Rashaki, you have a comment.
Sure. Brief announcement, y'all. So I found out like 4 days ago, I got appointed to the Affordable Housing Implementation Committee as our CAC representative to that committee. So I'm taking the place of LaVon Burns, who unfortunately moved outside the limits and could not serve anymore. So just so you all know, that is not a monthly meeting, so do not expect an update every month. They meet about 4 times a year. But that's specifically about the implementation of the affordable housing bond that we heard about today. So just in the new year, occasionally you'll hear me give a little update to you all about what's going on in that committee and if there's anything that we as the CAC can do. But yeah, I'm happy to represent you all. And if there's anything that you all want me to bring to that committee for any reason, I'm happy to do that. You all have my email address, but if you don't, we'll figure out a way to get it to you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Leah. Rashaki?
First of all, congratulations, Leah. Can you all hear me okay?
No, it's coming.
No.
It's a little warbly.
Is that any better? Okay. I have these new earbuds and maybe they're not the best. Go to the next person, Brian. Can you hear me saying that? And I'll disconnect.
All right. Dr. Monique?
Yes, I just wanted to say, first of all, please don't tell anybody that this is my favorite committee. Because I was on it for about almost 2 years. But anyway, I also wanted to tell you that, as you know, if you've been watching our meetings, that the mayor is having the city council do a deep dive into housing, right? And one of the things in our last kind of update, we were all just looking at the stats that talked about the amount of people, that are renting that we want to hopefully move into actually purchasing, which there comes a lot with that, right? And so that laid on my heart to start to meet with a lot of community partners. And I'm meeting with a couple this week to try to do forums for our residents around programs, if there's any, around education, around how do you go from renting, how do you go from that and actually trying to save a down payment in this economy to buy. So I am meeting with some, and I'll keep you posted, because there are some different community partners that are trying to partner with me, or I partner with them to be able to do a forum around this and get this information out to our residents. And so I will let you know as it develops who's going to buy into what I'm trying to do. And have these forums about actually getting our residents a little bit more educated on, and then what programs are out there. I know one of my first thing I did when I was trying to buy a house in New York City, which I could not afford, was they were programs that really worked on and helped me get my credit together, because my credit was shot after coming out of undergrad. It was shot, right? And so all of that stuff, you know, a lot of those programs they're not in existence, but there are some that are out there. I just had a student of mine told me that they had some program that they were involved in with Bank of America that gave them 110% of financing. I never even heard of that. But so there's a lot of stuff that are out there that residents don't know. So we all are very want to help people go from that renting, if they can, to purchasing. And so I will keep you updated as partners start to partner with me to be able to do these forums for the community. I'll let you know how this goes.
And call me.
I definitely will because because that laid on my heart when I saw those the data around how many people.
Call me.
Okay, I got you. So I'm working and meeting with a lot of people. So I'll keep you updated on that as those partners develop, partner with me to get that out. But I'm starting to meet with them this week. So, okay, just wanted to give you that update.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great to keep on top of and hear about.
Yes.
Can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. That's exciting, Dr. Hyman. Thank you. And I wanted to say congratulations to Leah. My question was really just about the meeting next week, since, I started virtual. I just wanted to ask suggestions for where do you park and stuff, because it's downtown, right, where we're meeting. I know the address is in an email. I just, want to know if anyone who's been in the office for these meetings or been to one of these appreciation events before, if you all could just give me the lay of the land on what I should do when I get in the area.
And Monique is probably better at this, but it's like the downtown parking. It's that parking garage off of Rigsby and what would that be?
So let me just say this. Today I had my one-on-one with the city clerk, like I always do. And because I expressed that concern, and she said there was going to be an email sent out because there's going to be some free parking.
Okay.
I don't want if I don't know.
But you can park.
But I think she said that. So I will make sure that also the email goes out again. But she had said that to me on my one-on-one with her today. So
Dr. Hyman, that is correct. I think I've sent the email out, but I will find it again and forward it to the committee again and highlight the information that they actually need.
Great, thank you. Because I know it's hard to park down there, and so I don't want that to be a barrier for you all coming. So she did. Actually, I brought that up to in my one-on-one with her, and she said that there was either an email that went out or it was going out. So thank you, Ms. Black. I appreciate that.
I didn't mean to cause more work for you, Ms. Black.
That's okay. If you all not reading, that's all right. I'll just send it back out and highlight it this time. That's all. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
She got me. Don't
worry about it.
That's where it is.
All right.
I mean, Mr. Chair, here I go with my over the topness, which is what my students say at Central. But it would be nice if all y'all wear maybe the same color, which I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. Look at Carl.
I might shoot.
Thought.
I might shoot for that one next year if we get people to actually show up this year. We'll go in baby steps here.
I got you.
All right. If there are no other comments or announcements anyone wants to share, I will call this meeting to a close. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for showing. Matthew, thank you again for your presentation and answering all our questions. And I hope you all have a great holiday season and look forward to seeing you definitely next week and in the new year as well.
Have a good one.
Thank
Matthew, thank you so much.